All right, welcome everyone. I am absolutely thrilled to guide you through this masterclass explainer today. So, to kick things off, I want you to take a second and just ask yourself a question. It's actually a question drawn directly from a student in the Serendipity Institute's Young Archivists program. Ready? Why am I not seeing myself represented when entering a museum? It's a pretty heavy question, right? But it's so important. It really just hits the nail on the head when we look at the stark reality of modern museum collections and the traditional archives we interact with every single day. And honestly, this number right here, this is a huge part of why that reality even exists. Get this. Across the entire heritage sector, only about 1% of the workforce is diverse. 1%. When the folks preserving, cataloging, and curating our history all share a super similar background, well, you naturally end up with a predominantly Eurocentric lens on culture. The stories of marginalized communities, they're just left out, or they're told by outsiders looking in. But here's the good news. There is a totally viable solution to fixing this representation gap, and it's you. It's youth community participation. By empowering young people from within the community to actually become the archivists themselves, we literally change the lens entirely. Okay, let's dive into this. Today, we're exploring the Digital Custodian, preserving sacred community events. We're going to look at exactly how modern tech can be used to preserve vital, living community heritage, while fiercely, and I mean fiercely, protecting the cultural sanctity of those exact events. It's a delicate balance for sure, and it takes some specific training. So here's our roadmap for the explainer today. First up, making the invisible visible. Number 2, going from tourist to custodian. 3, the ethics of observation. 4, metadata and preservation. And finally, number 5, community sovereignty. This is basically your syllabus for going from casual content creator to an initiated guardian of cultural memory. Let's get right into it. Module 1, making the invisible visible. We'll look at how programs like the AMI Pathways Fellowship are expanding exactly who gets to care for our audiovisual heritage. I absolutely love this concept. Transform screen time into service time. It just frames the work ahead so beautifully. For programs like the AMIA Fellowship and Project Hilani Kauai, which, by the way, is a 10-day field intensive for teenage hula practitioners traveling from Santa Barbara to Kauai, picking up a smartphone isn't about mindless scrolling. It's not about making a quick viral video just for fun. It's a radical act of service. It's youth-led digital archiving designed specifically to preserve their Halau's historic performance for generations to come. They're taking their everyday screen time and turning it into absolutely crucial cultural preservation. Moving right along to Module 2, Tourist to Custodian. This is where we need a major fundamental mindset shift before touching any gear. Let's contrast two totally different approaches to holding a camera. We all know the tourist, right? Capturing images for personal clout, maybe blocking foot traffic, just to get that perfect selfie. But a digital custodian? That is a whole different ballgame. As a custodian, you're operating professional-grade mobile cinema gear. Think heavy gimbals, specialized wind-resistant mics, and you're doing it specifically to preserve mololo or stories for the future. You're acting as a steward of a legacy. Actually, let's make that really clear. It is not about you. It's entirely about the heritage you're documenting. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the core guiding value it presents: presence before lens. As a custodian, your cultural participation and just being fully present in the moment, that always takes precedence over documentation. If your tech is creating a wall between you and the experience, or if it's kind of pulling you away from the spirit of the event, you have to put the gear down. You are a participant first and a producer second. Period. All right, Module 3, the ethics of observation. This is where we pair high technical standards with our cultural kuleana. So to navigate your cultural kuleana, which means your responsibility and your privilege out in the field, you need a solid framework. In the Hawaiian tradition, students learn to distinguish between two incredibly vital concepts. You have kapu, meaning sacred or restricted, and noa, meaning public. This is the ethical framework that helps you decide on the fly which parts of a cultural pilgrimage are meant for the camera lens and which are strictly for the heart. During training, students even use scenario cards. They'll literally debate whether a moment, like say a public royal procession versus a private backstage disagreement, is a film it, a don't film it, or an ask first situation. And the ultimate non-negotiable rule of this entire framework? The camera down rule. If a kumu, an elder, or a practitioner starts a pule, a prayer,
or signals a private moment, all recording stops immediately. Devices are stowed, no questions asked, no exceptions. This rule honors the deep, profound sanctity of private prayer and spiritual connection over the public act of recording.
Let's move to Module 4 and see how this builds. Metadata and preservation. Because once you've ethically captured this footage, you need the hard, practical skills of an archivist to ensure it survives.
Listen, when you're out operating in remote environments, your data is incredibly vulnerable. A single drop of water in a humid jungle can literally wipe out a whole day of history. No way we can let that happen. You've got to implement industry-standard protocols, specifically the 3-2-1 backup rule. Every single night, before anyone hits the pillow, students do a rigorous data dump. They use these super durable Seagate rugged SSDs for local daily storage, and then they push those files to secure remote cloud repositories, like Google Workspace, even using satellite connections if they have to.
But hey, just having the files backed up, not enough. Check out the exact naming convention required here: date, Halau name, Malay title, and your name. Why so specific? Well, raw data is completely useless if future generations can't find it or figure out what it is. If you just leave a file named video001, boom, its historical context is gone forever. Proper metadata is like a giant map. It ensures the archive is searchable, accessible, and accurately reflects both the performance and the person who captured it. So here's how all of this actually comes together over a 10-day field-intensive timeline. It kicks off with preparation, unpacking the mobile media lab, syncing up all the devices. Then we move into the capture phase, recording oral histories and those beautiful ambient environmental soundscapes. Day 6 is the massive festival production, where students literally rotate through pro roles: lead cinematographer, archival logger, social media liaison. After that comes preservation, where they edit the footage into a documentary, and finally, the whole shebang culminates in what we call the gift. And that brings us to our final section, Module 5, Community Sovereignty. Let's talk about what happens to this legacy once the physical project wraps up. The absolute golden rule here is data sovereignty. The archive belongs entirely to the community, in this specific case, the Halau, not the individual student holding the camera. As a custodian, you do not own the history you recorded. So what does that mean? It means you absolutely cannot post any of this footage to your personal social media accounts without explicit approval from the kumu. You are preserving it for them, not leveraging it for yourself. The entire intensive concludes with this incredibly beautiful ceremony centered around the digital key. This is where the students take the final, meticulously organized archive, the documentaries, the oral histories, all that metadata, and they transfer it onto a custom-engraved physical drive. Then they formally gift this drive back to their kumu. It's such a profound act of giving back, totally completing the circle of kuleana by handing the preserved history directly back to the community where it belongs. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final, really provocative question to chew on. When you pick up a camera, whose story are you choosing to preserve? The tech we carry around in our pockets today is mind-blowingly powerful. But at the end of the day, it's our ethics, our deep respect for the community, and our intentionality that truly makes us custodians of history. I really hope this masterclass has inspired you to step into your own role as a powerful cultural steward. Thanks so much for learning with me today.